So yeah, so thank you for joining us. And just as people are arriving, we're inviting people to write the name of your organization in the chat and your location. Thank you. And we also have this warm-up question just while we're waiting another minute or so. Where do you see the biggest opportunity to use sport for inclusion of displaced people in cities? And feel free to also write your thoughts on that in the chat to get a little warmed up here. All right, so without further ado, because we do have a lot to get through today, I would like to move to show you the agenda. So here's our agenda for today. We're arriving, that's our first 5 minutes. We'll go through some introductions of why we're here, what is our aim today, and as well of our wonderful panelists who are joining us. After a panel discussion, we'll move to breakout rooms where each person has a chance to speak and also share their thoughts. There will be 3 different rooms with 3 different themes, and you can choose which room to join with one of the panelists and the Sport for Refugees Coalition co-conveners who are here with us today as well. After that, we'll return to the main space and summarize our discussion, share some final thoughts and ideas, and then we'll wrap up. So it should go by actually very fast. Thank you. Great, so we're here for the week of action for Sport and Refugees 2025. That's organized by the Sport for Refugees Coalition and sportanddev. It's an annual event, and it creates the chance to learn, exchange, and advocate on the role of sport in addressing forced displacement, enabling greater coordination and impact. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm Talia Kaufman. I'm Senior Programs Manager at sportanddev, and I've worked in the sports for development sector for over 12 years, mostly in program development and monitoring and evaluation, and also in leadership roles. And as a skateboarder, I am extremely interested in how cities can be designed to support safe public spaces for sport and play. So I'm quite excited to be moderating this workshop. And our aims today are to create space for the SfRC members, but also other parties to engage with the topic of the inclusion of refugees through sport, and to gather information and experiences for the 2025 high-level officials meeting, which will take place later this year, which Andy from the Olympic Refuge Foundation will explain more about shortly. Thank you. So it is more important than ever right now that we understand and leverage opportunities for refugees and others who have been forced to flee because of conflict, violence, and persecution, for them to be included in their new societies. Many barriers, but also opportunities exist, particularly at the local level and in partnership with cities and municipalities. So what role can sport play in advocating with these stakeholders to include refugees, and how can they partner in supporting practical and impactful inclusion activities? So we hope to find some answers to those questions today and to bring that information to the high-level officials meeting later this year. So for more information on the Sport for Refugees Coalition, you can contact this email address, contact@sportcoalition.org. Right, so the week of action, there's a few ways to take part. If you're here today, that is one way. We have these 2 workshop events this week. This one is on the role of cities in sport for inclusion, and later this week on the 10th, which is Thursday, tackling discrimination through sport. We're also having a call for articles on these 2 themes, either or both of them. And we've got some great submissions already to that. So John's going to drop the links in the chat for those the other event and the call for articles. So if you're interested, you can follow up there. So the information and experiences that we gather through these two events will help inform the focus of the Sport for Refugees Coalition at that Global Refugee Forum multi-stakeholder meeting in Geneva, which is the high-level officials meeting in December. And now I will pass the floor to Andy Jacobs, Impact and Advocacy Officer at the Olympic Refuge Foundation, or for the Olympic Refuge Foundation at the International Olympic Committee, and she will be able to tell you a little more about the coalition and some opportunities to make a positive impact right now.
Thanks, Talia. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. It's nice to see so many of you here. So the coalition is co-convened by the UNHCR, the Olympic Refuge Foundation, and the SCORT Foundation, and it brings together over 130 entities from the world of sport, civil society, public and private sectors to extend access to sport for displaced people around the world. Sport for Refugees Coalition members have committed to support the Global Refugee Forum Multi-stakeholder Pledge on Sport for Inclusion and Protection. And more information on the Sport for Refugees Coalition, feel free to check out the website on Sport and Dev and also contact us by email. If we could go to the next slide, please. We're also super excited today to announce the launch of the Coalition's Collaborative Action Grant, which has been launched to support this week of action and is funded by the Olympic Refuge Foundation. The grant encourages partnership and innovation among coalition members and relevant entities from other Global Refugee Forum multi-stakeholder pledging areas. To be eligible for the grant, submitting organizations must be coalition members working in partnership either with other coalition members or other entities from the relevant GRF pledges. Organizations should demonstrate refugee engagement in their planning and implementation of the proposed initiatives and must align with one of the Week of Action themes. So either today we're focusing on cities and displacement, and then later this week we'll be looking at preventing hate speech and discrimination. Up to 4 concepts will be selected for up to $50,000 US each. You can find more information in the QR code on your screen, or we'll also drop the link in the chat. We're super excited about this opportunity, and we're really looking forward to reviewing the applications. So thanks for joining.
Thank you so much, Andy. That's a really exciting opportunity, and it's very timely, so I hope people can take advantage of that. And we do have a poll. We're going to see if we can launch it as a formal poll with Zoom. John, are you able to launch the poll? The theme is, do you see the place where you live proactively using sport to include displaced people? I've pre-made that poll. There we go. Thank you. Great, so as these answers roll in, I will move to the next slide and then we'll report back. Thank you. So this is our lovely panel today. These are fabulous speakers that we're very excited to be having here. And I'd like to introduce them. So we have Zainab Husseini. Zainab is the country director for Skatistan, Afghanistan. And Zainab is a person with lived experience of displacement herself. Her bio says, born a refugee in Iran, Zainab Husseini overcame adversity to become the first Afghan to complete an ultramarathon. Her journey fueled a passion for empowering women and youth through sports and education. Now serving as Afghanistan country director for Skatistan, she helps children stay in school and thrive despite current restrictions on sport in the country. And she is currently living in Rochester, New York State. So very excited to hear from Zainab with her extremely vast perspective and experience. And we have Paloma Solano, advisor to the General Director of the District Institute of Sports and Recreation in the Bogota Mayor's Office. Paloma is a political science graduate from the Universidad de los Andes with a master's degree in interdisciplinary development studies and a specialist in state public policy and development from the same university. And she has over 13 years of work experience in areas related to planning, execution, and monitoring of resources and administrative management. She also works in planning and formulating public policies at the national and regional levels. So thank you, Paloma and Zainab, for joining us. And finally, last but not least, we have Anne Mo, Social Innovation Officer with Play International. Social Innovation Manager at Play International, which is a sport for development NGO based in France, with activities in various African and European countries. She oversees Play's refugee inclusion through sport programs, from the conception of sports contents all the way to the training and accompaniment of professionals in France and on a European scale. So here are the results of our poll. It's great to see that more than half say they do see their cities proactively using sport, or their regions where they live, to include displaced people. It might be a little bit skewed because of the audience today, but nonetheless, that is definitely promising to see. And then, yeah, a few said, no, it's definitely not happening. And sometimes it might not be apparent. There we are. Thank you. So now we'll move to our questions to explore this theme in more detail. So first off, let's start with Zainab. Can you please tell us a bit about your own story and the role that support agencies in your new community have played in connecting you to sport? And for you, what was the role of sport in supporting your own inclusion? Thank you.
Thanks, Talia. Thanks, everyone. So yeah, as Talia said, I'm Zainab. I was born a refugee in Iran, and just after the collapse of Kabul to Taliban, we were forced to flee our country. I had only a backpack to pack, and of course it was full of diaper for my daughter and nothing else. So when I arrived to a military base in Virginia, we had the chance to start a skateboarding project for all those Afghan children who we were waiting for our final destination. So somehow the project didn't start, and when I moved to Rochester, all those equipment delivered to Rochester, New York. So the way we got out, me and my colleagues, so most of my colleagues are here in Rochester, it was very overwhelming. We were experiencing so many different feelings of losing our country, our home, and everything, all our belongings. So starting the skateboarding project here for refugees, first for the Afghan children, was so helping and supporting ourselves, not only the kids who are benefiting from the program. When you arrive in a new country where everything is new for you, especially the culture that you have never lived, I was experiencing hearing so many, I can say, silly questions like, do you have phone in Afghanistan? Do you know how to use an ATM machine? And these kind of questions. And then I had the opportunity to start the skateboarding project together with my colleagues and show the community that this is what we can offer. This is what we had in Afghanistan, beside like ATM machines and accessing to our mobile phone. So, I mean, it was quite a different experience of being involved in a community you don't feel belongs or accepted at the beginning. And then when you started and show how useful you can be for the community, for the new community, and of course, finding your own community of skateboarders. Yeah, it was so sweet. It was, I can say, for all of us, including the newly arrived children, it was not only skateboarding, it was a way of healing for us to feel accepted and feel we have something to offer, not only taking and receiving things from the community, uh, but of course having something on the table. Yeah. So we started the project with RIA, that's Rochester International Academy. It's a high school where all those refugee students who come from different countries come there first to learn the language. And then after that, they go to other city schools. It is funded and supported by the city of the Rochester, and we had the opportunity to use all the facility and equipment at that school. And right now, our project is expanded to the recreation centers, which is again supported by the city of Rochester. And right now, it's not only Afghan refugee students; there are everyone. Everyone are welcome. So this is one of the example of the sport refugee projects where the refugees are offering something to their new community.
That's incredible to hear about, Zainab. Thank you so much for sharing that. It really paints the picture of the whole process of setting that up. Thank you so much. All right, to follow up on what Zainab has spoken about from her first-hand experience, Paloma, can you tell us about the role of sport in supporting inclusion in Bogota for migrants and refugees and displaced people there, and why is this important for you? Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Yes, in Bogota, we believe that sports and recreation contribute to the well-being of the community and also promote health, inclusion, equity, and social participation. This is why the District Institute of Recreation and Sports participate in public policies that promotes inclusion and design programs that take different population groups into account. Displaced people are one of these population groups of particular emphasis, regardless of whether their displacement is due to being victim of armed conflict. If you know, Colombia has a long history of armed conflict, or due to international migration, like a lot of Venezuelan people come from there to Bogota and to a lot of cities in Colombia. So there are focused public policy lines in both cases. Through play and sports, we promote peaceful coexistence, and this is key point for me and for our institute, because we can help people of different ages, different backgrounds, different origins to contribute in a better society. Also, we believe that national migrants and international migrants can help in the development of the city with their knowledge, with their capabilities, and also with their participation. So for us, all our migrants, it's an opportunity that can help in a sport competition. So Bogota is in a better position in developing better programs and in the relationship even with economics and sports, because we are building a relationship between sports and economics, and we believe that migrants can also help building this relationship. So for us, having inclusion with displaced people, it's like a basic line to have a better community and a better development in our city.
Thank you so much, Paloma. It's super wonderful to hear how Bogota is leading in the thought in this area and the thinking and the approach. And I think there's so much that other cities can learn from your example. So thanks so much. So to follow up, we're going to speak about how sport can support cities' inclusion objectives. And I have a question for Anne. Could you please tell us about your work in Paris with the city to promote inclusion in and through sport? Thank you.
Sure, thanks. Hello everyone, so I am Anne, working within Play International, which is a sport-based NGO based in Paris. So we are working within Play on refugees and inclusion through sports since a lot of times, since 2017. And mainly our methodology is to use a sport game for refugees inclusions and to develop their psychosocial skills through sport and through sport games. But after different programs about it, we saw that it's important to be really connected within the city that we want those games to be developed and where we want refugees population to be included. And we had a new project which is called Terrain d'Avenir, thanks to the support of the Olympic Refuge Foundation. So it was really connected with the Olympics that happened last summer. And during the 3 years, we worked with 6 other organizations to promote sport for refugees. First, to give them access to sports, so how we can make some open some sport facilities for refugees to be able to do sports, and also how we work with professionals, with sport coaches, with animators, or everyone who might be able to facilitate some sport for refugees population, refugees children, because we are convinced that it's important to include refugees through sport, but it's also important for those who are in this inclusion mindset and in this inclusion program to have the good tools, because sometimes it's difficult also to, so first of course access to the sports, and then when people are in the sport activities, let's say that the work is not finished, and we think it's important for the activity itself to be inclusive. So that's why we are now working on the legacy of Terrain d'Avenir, and we are taking everything that worked on those 3 years program to create a big training and to be able to work and to train every sport clubs, every sport coaches that want to open their activities to refugees, to make them able to do so and to have an inclusive posture.
Thank you so much, Anne. That's very inspiring how you brought the whole community together. And I think a lot of people here would have heard of Terrain d'Avenir, but it's not apparent how it all comes together on the back end. So thank you so much. Zainab, back to you. How does your work with Skatistan, Afghanistan support refugee inclusion in cities and municipalities, or inclusion of displaced people?
Yeah, with Afghanistan, we mostly work with the internally displaced people, where so before collapse of Kabul, there were many areas which was affected by domestic war, and those families were relocating to the bigger cities like Kabul, Mazar, and Bamyan. So we are still in contact with those students, and they are part of our program. In another story, after collapse of Kabul, many of our employees and volunteers and youth leaders were relocated or forced to flee to other countries. We have a team of our colleagues who are now running a skateboarding program in Tehran, in Iran, and they are teaching the Afghan refugees there. There are many examples of our students and our youth leaders who are involved with skateboarding projects for refugees. We have Shafiqa, one of our youth leaders, who is running a skateboarding project in Canada right now. So not directly, but directly, Skateathon is sending people all around the world to offer a skateboarding project for refugees. I can say simply.
Thank you, Zainab. It sounds like it's a simple enough model that it's quite replicable and scalable, or at least can be replicated easily by people who have been through the program too. So that's really wonderful to hear about, that you're still managing to do anything in Afghanistan is quite remarkable. Thank you so much. So our next question is for Paloma. What are some of the ways in which sport has supported the objectives of the city of Bogota?
Well, there's a lot of ways that sports has collaborated with the objective of the city. For example, last year, sports and recreation has been one of the drivers of the city economy. We have been on top of the cities in Colombia because of sports and recreation. Also, for example, sports helps appropriate public spaces like parks and under bridges, because make people like the place, go to that place, being in community, own the space, so that make the space safer. And that's one of our main goals, to have safer spaces like parks. They also have allowed the city be classified as one of a venue for major events, and this is one of our goals in our public policy for this administration. It also bring and generate a city pride. But if we talk in particular to promote inclusion, we have seen that through the organization of the sports tournaments, we foster peaceful coexistence, social inclusion. We promote a strengthening of civic values such as respect, solidarity, teamwork. We also provide communities with the opportunity to connect and collaborate in harmonious environments. So that's why we have designed programs as Peace and Sports. Also, we have special festivals like Panas y Parces. This is a way of calling people from Bogota and also from Venezuela. And we have also built and filled with programs, happy centers, that are located in vulnerable places of Bogota. These happy centers are big structures with a lot of programs of sports and recreation that have the main objective to give access to sports programs. But this access viewing in the whole package, you know, not only access because I give you the opportunity to go, but also because it's located in a place where you can, it's near where you live, and also because the programs are free, and also because the programs are designed with respectful rules that make available for all the community to go there and participate there. So most of these programs, festivals, and everything, we do it to promote access to sport and recreation, but also cultural sharing, inclusion for the whole community, and aims especially to challenge xenophobia by building empathy and solidarity between cultures. For us, these programs help us with the sense of belongings, like they are part of the community because they can go there, they can participate with others, and they can have the access to everything everyone else is having, you know, like it's not something exclusive for a population group, but it's for everyone, but designed at the same time, taking into account the different population groups.
Thank you so much, Paloma. And I don't want to divert too much from our script, but I do see an interesting question in the chat, and maybe it's just a rhetorical question for now, but I think it's very important that there's an interest in what is the data and how do we measure that impact with the wider community to see, you know, the results of such peace building projects. And do you see those results on the ground there in Bogota?
Actually, we do. We have improved in a lot of our in results and indicators, like our main goals, such as employment. We have make it go through. In terms of natality, it have helped us a lot. But in terms of the sports, we also have build better programs with the community that are helping us, that the community feel part. For example, now they can be in the schools because they like our program, our sports programs that are in the, we have something that it's called extra hours, you know? So in these extra hours, we give our programs, and a lot of migrants, displaced people have come to enter the school programs because they want to be part of our extra hours. So that's a way of sports bringing together and other topics like academics, like educational things. We also have seen it because a lot of community has asked us sports programs like wrestling and boxing, because it has been helping them to be part of the community. So I don't have the exact data right now, but we have seen it in the community asking for it and need it. Like it's part
Yes.
of them because it's been helping them already in the past. So I do believe it's a great opportunity. I will bring the data next time.
No problem. Thank you. Sorry for putting you on the spot, but it's very fascinating to dig a little bit deeper. So thank you for that question also in the chat. And thank you, Paloma. Next up, we want to talk about some of the difficulties that can come up for cities and organizations that are trying to use sport for inclusion of refugees. And my next question is for Anne. So which difficulties and also solutions have you used which difficulties have you encountered implementing programs with displaced people in other cities than Paris, and what solutions did you implement to address those? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think I can relate to two different programs that we are running today. The first one is for the inclusion of Ukrainian refugees, so Ukrainian children in Poland and in Romania. So in those two countries, we worked in 3 different cities, and we at the beginning we always began our projects with a diagnosis and to see what is happening, how it's happening, what are the key challenges and the key difficulties that we can try to find a solution through sport. And I think in this situation it was a bit complex because the cities were not used to welcome that amount of refugees children in so much little time, let's say. So they had to organize themselves, and they had to prioritize, and everything was a little bit urgent. So first of all, it was really important for us to understand how those kids were integrated in school, so first of all, in educational settings, but also after school, also how they had access or not to sport activities and to other kind of socializing activities. We saw that it could be different. For example, in school, some schools were opening their doors to a lot of big amount of refugees, so the classes were really different, and they had to manage with the fact that a lot of new kids, newcomers in the classroom, from one day to another. So it could be a challenge for the teachers, and for them, they had a lack of tools to maintain cohesion, let's say, within those classrooms. So it was important to find solutions, to work on cooperation between children, to work on the fact that kids can connect together, and it's not Ukrainian and Polish children, for example, but really a classroom and a group of children united together. So that's why we brought this kind of content, and we also brought a lot of trainings for the teachers. So thanks to the diagnosis that we did really closely with the cities, we had the opportunity to create the good response and to bring some tools. And another challenge, we saw it a lot in our another project which is called Replay, and based in Italy, in Rome. And we saw that one difficulty can be, so I already talked about the access of sport facilities, and I think it's a challenge in a lot of different cities, and big cities, capitals are the more concerned. But also, so this is a challenge, but when working with the cities and the municipalities, you can find solution. You can find some special timings for facilitate activities in sport facilities. But even before that, it's important for refugees to know what is possible in their cities. And this is a challenge that we saw. It's the lack of knowledge for people, for children, for refugees, mainly and broadly, they don't know what kind of activities they can do, where they can go, and this is really a lack of knowledge. So a solution that we found is really to build some bridges between let's say, the social work world, so host centers and refugee centers and the social worker there, and the sport clubs. And because of this dialogue, and because of the fact that they can know each other, and what is really funny is that they both are convinced of the importance of the other. But thanks to the time and the emergencies that we all have, they are not speaking to each other. So creating some spaces for them to talk together, after we don't have to do anything else, because they connect and they can find solutions. So yeah, that was the main solution that we designed.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's a great example of how a impartial third party can help facilitate across local dynamics that have prevented people from working together or feeling at peace together. So thank you. And Paloma, what advice would you give to other cities or municipalities looking to support sport-based initiatives to promote inclusion?
Well, for my advice, I want to tell all of you about another strategy that our institute is implementing it, and it's called neighborhood labs or recreational labs. This strategy requires programs that the community build itself, that it create a structure and implement the community. Because sometimes we build public policy, we build programs, we build activities that are think and created with really good intentions, but from an office, or from the central government, or from without taking into account what the community really wants, what the displaced people really wants, what the vulnerable people really wants. So we create this strategy that it's called recreational labs, and we build the initiative, we build the program with them. And this program especially have a rule that I love. And that rule is that all the initiatives that have that check the criteria, small criteria, because the budget, it's not endless, that check all the criteria are going to be implemented. Why? Because we don't want that, okay, so we build the idea that have more people interested, or that have more users, because then the vulnerable people that in some cases doesn't feel that they have the support of the community, well, they don't think that the idea that they give, it's going to be selected. So we will choose all the ideas that have the criteria and the length of time, the budget, and some points that are some rules that are established since the beginning, and that idea is going to be selected. The beauty of this also is that all the ideas have to imply participation in community, have to imply sports and recreation, and have to imply building and co-working with others. So all the ideas that are going to be selected are going to be built between everyone that is participating. It doesn't matter if I'm the only one that put it in the spot. So this idea helps people the sense of being heard. You know, sometimes people need to be listened to, and they when they are creating the program, when they are creating the activities, they also feel that the ties with the community is getting stronger, it's getting strengthened. So when we design programs that are co-designed with the community, there are going to be a lot of more success. I bring, for example, the sports, which sport, you know? So from the office, we will think soccer is a good idea because everyone in Colombia loves soccer, everyone in Bogota loves soccer. But when we go to the community, they ask us for wrestling, they ask us for taekwondo, because those sports helps them building, improving their wellness. So they have another stuff thinking there that we don't take into account. So my advice will be to make a strategy taking into account the community you want to help, also setting the rules since the beginning, establishing how to deal with the complaints with when someone it's not okay with the result, and also making gender protection protocols, because sports, it's in Colombia, it's a real way of inclusion, but also masculinity has been like on top of it. So we have to make it inclusive for everyone, even taking into account the gender protocol too. So that will be like a bunch of advice for all of us.
Gold. That's extremely valuable. Thank you, Paloma. And thank you for bringing up the importance of really thinking about the gender inclusion strategy as well. I think if anyone follows those steps, they'll be in very good shape. So thank you so much. So thank you, enormous thanks to our panelists for preparing those extremely thoughtful insights to share with all of us today. Together you have just such a wealth of experience, and we're extremely lucky to get to hear from you live and in real time. So now you will have a chance all to to sit one-on-one with one of the panelists. Unfortunately, Zainab has to leave early for an appointment, but the SfRC co-conveners are here, and our panelists are here, and we'll set up some breakout rooms on 3 different questions. So I'll just share my screen again here with the slides so we can see what that's all about. And 1 moment. So we have 3 rooms, 3 questions, and we'll have about 20 minutes, and then we'll report back a few key points. So there'll be a note taker present, and anyone is welcome to be the person to report back if you like public speaking and are succinct. We'll also offer you a timer to help us keep on track for the reporting back. You can have 2 to 3 minutes to report back. But if you find the timer option obnoxious, you do not have to use it, and we will not cut you off. We want to hear from everyone. So I'm just loading up now the screen share. Here we go. So that was our panel. So here are the breakout discussion questions, and you'll have, like I said, 20 minutes. So the overall theme is how can organizations working in and through sports support settlement processes and inclusion within cities and municipalities? And room 1, what are the range of organizations or institutions to be engaged? And that's with Paloma and the Olympic Refuge Foundation. Room 2, how do we ensure sports facilities and public spaces are known, safe, and accessible for displaced communities? And that will be with myself and UNHCR and Zainab, as long as she's available. And room 3, what are the enablers and challenges to partnerships and collaborations around sport for inclusion with Anne Mo and representatives from SCORT Foundation. So without further ado, John, can you please open the breakout rooms? And we'll give people about 1 minute to go to a room. And then if you don't select a room, we'll put you in one. Thank you. So some of you should now be getting assigned to rooms. And otherwise, if you don't get assigned, you can select a room. And we will put the questions also in the chat because that was kind of rapid. So I'll pop into each room and drop the questions in your chat just to make sure you can see them.
Mela, I left one of the rooms you assigned me. It's Peter from the Multi because we're two people from the same association. Can you just put me in another room? Thank you.
Yes. One moment. I think John has the capacity to do that. So let's just check that he's here and able to help us. It looks like he may have gone to a room. Let's see. I might be able to do that. Who's in? Just seeing how to move someone. Breakout room. Okay. So Peter, you want to be moved to, where were you before? Oh, you're in room 1. How do we?
I am not sure, to be honest.
Okay. And Maurice, do you have a preference? Which room? Oh, no problema. Yo hablo un poco español. ¿Qué, ¿Qué cuestión quieres participar? ¿En qué cuestión? Oh, I cannot hear you. You're muted.
Hola, buenas.
Buenas.
Sí, sí, ahí más o menos estaba escuchando la reunión
Okay. No,
y estaba aprovechando que estaba la señora Paloma, que ella
okay.
como está, yo estoy en Colombia.
Voy, voy, puedo enviar, puedo enviarte como Paloma, si quieres. Si quieres,
Sí,
pero,
por favor.
okay. Maurice. Maurice. Need to find your name. Okay. Maurice not join. Move to. Okay. No. Oh, Welcome back.
Are we the first one back?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
We have an amazing spokesperson who will talk about our key takeaways.
Incredible. Do they want the timer?
We haven't discussed about the timer.
I mean, listen, maybe. Yeah, by all means.
John, do you have the 3-minute timer ready to deploy? It's a little bit intimidating, the timer, but I think it's fun.
It's
It's a
hard.
fun option.
I'm always up for a challenge.
Great. All right. Well, while I get the slide up, you might as well start if you want to start reporting back. And John, you can feel free to start the timer. There we go.
Is it me first then?
Yeah, go
All
for
right.
it.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, we talked about the sort of challenges and the enablers to the work that we do, and obviously we had more challenges than enablers, but that's often the way. We talked a lot about obviously the community involvement and the participants' involvement in planning and designing and how important that is to the work that we all do. We talked about, or I talked about, because I work for the English Football League, around football clubs and professional football clubs and professional sports organisations, particularly, who have a really strong voice in communities, and we should try and leverage that as much as we can wherever we can. Grassroots is great at delivering and doing that messaging, but there's also a role here for professional bodies and all that sort of piece. One of the things we talked about was, as sort of challenges, I suppose, is particularly from our UK base, that there isn't really anyone, it's certainly not government, and there's certainly no other organisations that are really pulling together all the work that's going on in sport with refugees, and that means it's quite sort of everything's sort of everywhere, and there's no sort of coordination, there's no impact planning, reporting. It's just all very mix and match at the moment. And I mean, even in football, there's four bodies in football in England. There's the Premier League, there's us, there's the National League, and there's the FA. So just in our world, it's really complicated. We talked a lot about the challenge of measuring impact, and particularly impact over time. In that, the work we do, some of the impact you can measure very, very quickly. Actually, the real impact of what we do in this space is over a number of years, and often the funding that we get doesn't have enough to do as much impact and evaluation as we would like. But actually doesn't also give us the longevity of what the real long-term impact is of what we do. And then the final big challenge, look at that, I'm doing it in time, is as always, funding and resources is always it. And that's, and again, speaking only from our experience, the work we do, we have 40 football clubs doing refugee work, and it's probably funded by about 15-20 different organisations. A few £1,000 here, a few £1,000 here in that area, and it's it's really hard to try and pull all that together into an actual coherent strategy and coherent delivery plan across the country. Ultimately, look at that. 7, 6, 5. I'm done. Thank you. I think that was everything. If it wasn't, I apologize.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dominique. That's great to hear from your breakout room. And would breakout room 2 like to report back? You were breakout room 1, correct?
3, I think.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, 3.
Okay.
That's why I was surprised I went first. That's why I was a
Okay.
bit surprised.
Oh, you were here. And
Yeah,
you were
here
ready.
first. That's fine.
Great. So, well, let's count down from 3 anyway. Would someone from breakout room 2 like to report back with optional 3-minute timer?
Is that us? Was that us? I think it was.
Yes, that was us, Colette. Yes.
Okay, super. So the question that we were answering was, how do we ensure sport facilities and public spaces are known, safe and accessible for displaced communities? So we heard from speakers from different parts of the world, which is really interesting, and there are similarities and differences in response. Peter, who's from the National Maltese Football Association, said that it's a smaller community there, which makes it easier for integration. But at the same time, you have the challenges in terms of the per capita, the number of refugees that are on Malta, and also the type of displacement that these types of refugees are coming to Malta and then potentially moving on from Malta afterwards. So this sort of dynamic situation in Malta makes it quite challenging. Hani, who was based in Jordan, said that it's really key to have proper coordination between organizations, in particular the national authorities, the local authorities, and it really helps if there's a national policy on refugee inclusion, even better if it includes elements on sport. So and it's about taking time in the beginning. There was no proper coordination, but once it sort of got started, it got easier to manage, etc. Another key challenge is, of course, funding. So one way that we can interact and support with our national authorities is to come with proposals, that also have a financial coverage included, which can often be a challenge. Aram, who's based in Kurdistan, we were talking about where displaced people receive their information, and Facebook groups, online channels, etc. are really important. I pushed and asked, what about for women and girls? So we talked about how we can also ensure that these public spaces are being accessed by women and girls as well. And in Kurdistan, there's been some initiatives around different types of sports. So instead of the classic perhaps male-centered sports like football, they did tournaments around volleyball. And finally, well, I think that's it really. I'm going to wrap up there and ask if anybody else from my group wants to add anything in the last 15 seconds that I have perhaps missed. Silence is golden. Voila. And Dom. And Dom, you set a good standard of keeping to the 3 minutes. Well done. And I have managed it as well. Yahoo!
Thank you, Colette. Well done. Under pressure, performing incredibly well. And finally, group one, room one. We'd love to hear from you as well. If you're brave, you can use the timer.
Sure, we'll use the timer. And we actually didn't establish who was going to present, so we're happy to do it unless there's any volunteers from our group. No? Okay, we'll leave it. I'll try and leave some time after if anyone wants to jump in. Okay, so our question was, what are the range of organizations and institutions that should be engaged? We heard from the International Judo Federation on the importance of working with their national sport federations, who are more knowledgeable on the local context and the different organizations to engage with. Refugee communities themselves as drivers of development and change came up quite a few times, both from the city of Bogota and then from some of the other local organizations. We also talked about the referral from resettlement agencies and organizations that are working on refugee resettlement and how that pathway can refer into the sport systems in the context of the countries. Paloma talked a lot about an all-of-government approach and how it's useful to have local level commitment, but to also have that supported up through different policy levels in the various chambers of government. We also talked about some of the challenges in working with cities and authorities. So some barriers to working with local authorities reflect their support for inclusion more broadly. So perhaps they don't see inclusion as a topic that they really want to engage in to begin with. And they may not understand the role of sport in this process. So that was kind of a very broad summary. And we heard from a lot of different organizations globally. So it was nice to have some representation. Does anyone else want to jump in? I've left ample time. Okay, I think that's it from us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing and reporting back under pressure with a stopwatch. And at this point, since we do have a few extra minutes, if anyone has any questions, remarks, reflections.
This is Dima from the Malta FA. We would like to ask, please, about the to send us the more information about the refugee grant, please. Hello?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
What's the best way for Dima?
Via email. We have left the our manager's email in the chat, peter.positi@mfa.com.mt.
Okay. And for the ORF, could you let Dima know what is the best way to find out more information? I think you did share earlier. Actually, I can just go back to that slide because there's a QR code there. Pardon me.
Thanks, Talia. Yeah, so if you can just go back to the slide. So the QR code will provide a link to the concept note, which has the full details and also the application format. And
yes, I see it.
There should be a link shared in the chat if you're unable to also scan the QR code.
Thank you.
And if there's any further questions after reviewing those, feel free to email. The email address is listed in the concept note, but it's applications@olympicrefuge.org for any further questions.
Thank you so much. Great question, Dima. That did go by quite fast, so important details to collect here. Any other remarks or questions from our members or the broader community?
I have a question. Peter, also from Malta FA. We're currently working on a project in Ramallah and on the Shatila refugee camp in Beirut. I was wondering whether anyone in this particular online meeting has had any experience or has any connection either with the Palestinian Federation, with whom we have a connection, of course, or with the Shatila refugee camp in Beirut, just to see if they would want to be included in what we're doing at the moment. That is all. It's just a shout out to anyone who has any projects ongoing in the West Bank at the moment, of course. Because our colleagues also work in Gaza, but at the moment, they can well imagine, it's near to impossible.
Hello, Peter. My name is Mahmoud Al-Shanati. Already we are an NGO near Shatila camp in Sabra, an area called Sabra Lil Shatira Palestinian refugee camp in Beirut.
Perfect.
And already we have project that giving the kids that living inside Shatila camp or the area near the camp to come and do skateboarding sessions with us. So maybe we can coordinate about, I don't know, even we're giving the children that living in the Palestinian refugee camp in Beirut. Mainly.
Okay, Mahmoud, sorry, I don't want to cross into everyone's path.
Yes.
So there's my email on the chat.
Exactly.
Or you can put yours and we'll write to each other by tomorrow.
Yeah, sure.
So that we get in touch. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you both. That's a totally great use of this space, actually. So if anyone else has a need or an offer, might as well do it now for the next couple of minutes.
Trying to sell my car as well.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
I'll put my email in. Anyone who wants to talk to me about football can absolutely do that. No problem at all.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for your time and for sharing your afternoon with us. And we hope to see you also on Thursday. We have a great lineup and it'll be an equally engaging and dynamic discussion and panel. So we do hope to see you then. And you can find all the sign up information on the Week of Action article on the Sport and Dev website. And yeah, thank you again for your time, and thank you to all our wonderful panelists for all the energy and enthusiasm you put into sharing your wisdom with our group today. So hopefully what's been shared today can help move things forward for cities looking to support displaced people. And I guess that will conclude our webinar for today, our workshop. Thank you so much. And thank you for the Sport for Refugees Coalition for co-coordinating this workshop together with us. All the members have been extremely supportive and helpful, and we really appreciate that. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 I took his email address.